Hello everyone, Ceri the Crafter here, that's C-E-R-I the Crafter, and I'm here today to play with my grid journal. Now, I've had this project in mind for quite a while now and I haven't got round to doing it, and I really want to do it. I wanted to base it on bees and honeycombs and hexagons and all of that lot. But before we start, let's just show you something that I've done. I ended up doing the covers. If you've seen this journal before, you know it's my grid journal. It's the one I work in each time. And what I did is, as you know, I use scrapbook pages to clean up, mop up, do stuff like that. So I took them and actually took all of those and covered my journal, which I'm really pleased about. That's just taken that to a whole other level for me, and I love it. I was going to wait and only use the papers I use in the journal on there, but you know what? This is my grid journal. I'm absolutely loving it. I wanted it to look good on the shelf. So right, let's open up this at a random spot. Actually, can I do it on the back there? Maybe. I've been a bit hesitant to work on the backs of things. Maybe I won't. Maybe not. Today's not the day to play like that. Let's just open. That's a relatively flat spread. Now, as you know, I normally create a template for each of my pieces. And I've got to the point now where I have this pouch, which I keep slotted into the back of my grid journal. And this is where I create them and keep them. You don't need to do this, guys. I mean, I've seen people take packs of like post-it notes, put them down and draw around them. I've seen people just freehand squares, circles, anything you wish. That's not the way my brain functions. So I take the time to create templates for myself, just out of like, I want to say this might be, I think this is probably just packaging from something like a cereal box or something like that. I have a rectangular one. This was just a bit of craft paper, so I actually put sticky tape on it just to reinforce it. So as you can see, it fits on either page. I then did one with squares because I didn't have one with squares. Now, I can't give you a template for these guys, and it's not even worth me creating a stencil for you guys from PM Artist Studio for this, because it'll depend on your paper size as to what size the grid needs to be. So, and I don't think it's rocket science, so it's not something I feel that needs a product. Now, this one I cut to the size of the page. This one was a bit smaller, but you know what? I can centralize it. I'm not going to get tied up with my perfectionism, making sure they're perfect. Then I drew this one. This was a problem. I didn't want to do the hexagons too small because I need to paint within them. I also didn't want to just put hexagons on and not part hexagons, because then I have big expanses of the page not used. I was thinking of maybe doing combinations of different sizes, and I might recreate one of those in the future, but I decided to keep the partial hexagons on here as well, because that will just be interest as well. Now, how did I create this? Right, can I see? I've rubbed out most of the markings. I basically measured my template and divided it into equal divisions, so halfway. I then created one, oh, there you go, the cereal packaging, one hexagon. Now, you can get a pattern from the internet if you've got something like Excel or a graphics program. You can create a hexagon, print it out, stick card to it, and then cut it out. If you've got a set of dies, you could cut one out. And then what I did is I centralized it on here. As you can see, I did a halfway mark on the sides of my hexagon, because when I actually put that onto my card, I could centralize it that way, and then this centralized this way, and then I drew around it, and then I cut it out with a craft knife, and I did the same all the way around. You will note that these pieces do not line up with these pieces. There is a slight difference. I made that a design choice. I also did it at the top, because what I wanted was, I wanted the full width of that, which isn't necessarily going to match that, because of course I put a border in. Anyway, enough of me chin-wagging about that. I'm going to keep this with my already templates, just in case I do one day decide to make one that is a smaller size. For the person who said, could I do a digital of the pattern of these? No, actually I couldn't. same problem as before. It'll depend on the size of your pages. Also, when you print it out, it'll depend on how your printer resizes things, or whether it prints borderless or whatever. I would say just choose the shape you want, make one, and make them from that. So that's where I'm at. So let's put that to one side so I don't lose it, because I'd be a bit heartbroken. Those are not easily done. Right, now it doesn't fit perfectly on my page, and I'm okay with that. I'm just going to grab myself a pencil, and I'm going to come in, and I'm literally going to just draw around this. Basically, I call it a template. You could call it a stencil if you wished. And this will then just give me the outlines. Now, in the last one I did of these, I can't remember which shape it was. I think it was squares and, or was it rectangles and larger rectangles? I know I played around with the sizes of things. And in that one, I used tape for the first time, masking tape on the edges. And let's just flip that over. I flip it over because for some reason in my mind, that helps me think that the thing is going to be symmetrical. So let's line that up a little bit there. I'm not going to worry that these line up perfectly because I'm trying to release my perfectionism, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it, says he, fussing around with all of the edges. Right, let's do this side. Oh, and I've just knocked it. There you go, right. This paper pad, I believe the paper I took this from was actually a mixed media paper pad, if I remember correctly. I don't know whether, I didn't make this on screen with you. No, I didn't. I will put the playlist at the end of the video. You'll see a little video highlight come up. I'll try and put the playlist for my grid journal videos in that list there. There are plenty of other grid journal people out there in the world who do wonderful work with grid journaling, and what I would say is look around until you find the style you like, because when I first did this years ago, I did one page and absolutely hated it. Now it's one of those things I'm absolutely addicted to. So anyway, where was I? I was saying about tape, because I was buying low tack tape that's 1 inch wide, and I was saying I couldn't find it in smaller widths. Well, sometimes the most obvious answer is right in front of you, but you don't see it. So one kind subscriber pointed out to me, why don't I cut it? They're just the simplest ideas, guys. So what I've done is I took her at her word. Now, I don't need huge pieces for any of these. So because it's low tack tape, it's going to stick to my cutting board and it's going to actually come off again. Now, I can see through this tape, so I can actually use the guidelines there to cut it. If these are a certain width, which I think they are, they're 1.5 of these blocks on the Tim Holtz ruler. And I can come in and actually cut them. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to line that up there. I'm going to take just a craft knife, run it down once. Ooh, run it down in a straight line would be a good idea, Griffiths. Yeah, this one didn't. As you can see, I cut it wrong, but this will get stuck to my bookcase and I can use it for other things. There you go, that's taken that. So instantly I have whatever width I want. Thank you so much to that subscriber for pointing that out to me. I was being a complete and utter numpty. I didn't even think of that. As I said, the things that are right in front of you are sometimes the hardest things to see. So I'm going to take some time away from you. 2 seconds for you, probably about 10 minutes for me. And I'm going to do the taping on all of these hexagons, and then I'll come back, because you certainly don't need to watch me do that. Back in 2, guys. And I'm back again. Was the process quicker? Probably not, but then taping off a complex design like this is not going to be quick anyway. Was it easier? Yes, it was, cutting these strips, because the last time I put one line there and one line there, I could have come in with an eraser or a rubber before I started and taken the pencil lines back a bit. But as you know, I'm going to be using acrylic paint, and I usually outline things anyway, so I'm not overly worried about that. So, as I said, this is going to be bee themed, as in Bumblebee themed. So my palette is going to be pretty much yellows and oranges. I've thrown in some creams and a green as well, because it's primarily a nature one. Now, as you will note, I haven't done all the way to the edges. So I just have to be a little bit careful when I'm doing the thing, that it doesn't actually go into the areas it's not supposed to go into. Like that bit there is going to worry me. I'll just stick a little bit of extra on there. So, right. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to use my little gel press. Now my little gel press, because I know you're going to ask me, is 3 inches by 5. So a 3x5 gel press. I'm going to use it. I'm going to put stuff on it, then I'm going to pick it up and then place it onto here just to start creating a background. See if I move this over slightly. Hopefully you're going to be able to see. Just move that in shot a little bit. It's the only trouble, half the time you want the stuff to be closer, but by closer it means that what you can see is less. I would rather film wider and then try and crop in. And I'm going to use my 4-inch speed ball brayer as well. So I just want to start getting colours into this. Now, I did say I wanted greens in there. I want the greens kind of in the background to start with. So I'm using a pale olive green. I'm not going to remember to name all of the colours I'm using, guys. You know me by now. That's just probably not going to happen. So I'm just going to brayer this out quite thinly. Now, I do know this is either a semi-transparent or a transparent. The reason I wanted to use this is I quite like the idea of having some of these geometric shapes in here. So just want pieces to come in and populate the background. Now, whether it's going to be seen totally, I do not know. And I don't need a lot of it. I just want, pieces of it in here. Let's do that across there. That bit can fit on there. There are different shapes of these mini gel presses, by the way. I think I've got the square, the round, and the triangle. I do believe there's a hexagon, an oval, and there's another one, maybe a square. I don't know. This is the one I've got, this set. I bought it, I think I bought it for myself last Christmas or the Christmas before, because someone was actually asking me how would you use them. And I did use them. I tend to use this one on my desk all of the time as like a paint palette for acrylic paints when I'm stamping with foam stamps. But other than that, I don't tend to use the small ones enough. I think it's probably because I forget that I've got them. So this is Golden Titan Green Pale, one of my favourite colours. I just want a little bit of this. I don't want green to be dominant, as I said, but it's all part and parcel of me building up the layers. And I don't mind the angular pieces being shown, as I said, and that's purely because it's going to be quite a geometric spread, in that we've got hexagons all over the place, and I'm going to be stamping with geometric shapes as well. But I did want to put something into this that was a bit grungy in its appearance, and I don't mind laying it over other things either. Again, all about the layers, guys. All about the layers. It is for me anyway. Right, I think just one more bit there. As with everything, I haven't really planned this out. I'm just getting it sorted. I'm going to take one of these sheets and I'm just going to clean my brayer off onto it, purely because I don't want that colour anymore. Now, as I said, background, background, background for me. Now I want to come in and I want to put some orange detail into this. Let's see if I can pick a bit off that while we're sat there. I will put orange detail into the background of this, just because I will put orange detail into the background of this. So I'm going to pick up quite a strong orange. It's this one. It's just a mixed pot for me. If you see a bottle from me that's just basically got no labels on it, what I do is periodically I go through my paints, and if I'm at the tail end of anything, I will squirt them all into the one bottle. If it's high flow, if it's heavy bodied, it all goes into one bottle. If it is a bit thick, I'll just put a little bit of water with it and give it a bit of a shake. I have put beads in these, so you know when you buy those bumper packs of like pearls and things for bead making, there's always some in there you don't really like. I usually throw 1 or 2 into these pots just so that they've got something in them. Now what I want to do is I wanted to introduce you to some of my new designs of foam stamps, and I'm really excited about these. I did a small bubble wrap, a medium bubble wrap, and a large bubble wrap. And the reason I did these, and here are the very stamps, that's the small, that's the medium, that's the large. I think we're only going to use this one at the moment. We might come back to the small one. The reason I designed a stamp, and I know everyone's going to go, but wait a minute, you can get bubble wrap for free. You can. Totally agree. I have a whole drawer for it. But do you know what? I can now clear out that drawer. These 3 stamps are all I'm ever going to need. And if I look after them, they're going to be there as long as I am. It means I no longer have to be hunting for bubble wrap. I no longer have to store it unless I actually want to use it for wrapping stuff. So I'm going to use this one, which is the medium one. And I'm using acrylic paint because everything I'm doing in here is acrylic paint at the moment. Which is I'll come in. Now, it is a vertical design or a horizontal design, but you can put it any which way you want. I'm probably going to keep it relatively vertical, to be honest with you. And I just want something in here that will give me interest. Now, I had to be careful I'm not making these pages symmetrical, because I do have a tendency to want to do that. Let's go across there and maybe a bit up there. Right, this will just go onto a damp cloth, and we'll actually get put that one on a damp cloth so that I don't end up having the paint dry on my stamp. But before I do that, I'm just going to use up the rest of this orange paint, because you know me, I'm not going to waste anything. I'm just going to put stuff on here. And this is how I made the papers that I utilised on the front. And you've seen me use those papers in other things. I mean, these 2 pieces that I did last month, these were created using the same painty papers and the doodling over the top. So I'm kind of addicted to this. I think I'm going to do a smaller version of this as greetings cards for this year's Christmas cards. I don't normally send Christmas cards out. However, I do tend to send cards out to people to thank them or just to wish them a happy season. I tend to not use the word Christmas because I do have lots of friends who are not celebrating Christmas. So just for me, that's just the way I do it. So anyway, just going to put that on top of there. Let's put those to one side. So now I'm building up these colours. Now I have to make sure I don't go dark too quickly, because I don't want to go dark too quickly. I do want to keep the colours quite light. Now I wanted to play around with one of these. I'm not sure which I wanted. Let's go with champagne gold, shall we? I wasn't quite sure, but I think I want to do champagne gold. It's not a very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a very dominant gold, so I'm quite happy about that. And I'm literally going to brayer it out and then flick it onto my piece in areas, being careful that I don't overrun the areas where the tape isn't. I want to make sure that I've got the background's covered. A little bit more of that, I feel. Part of me kind of wished I used masking tape that was a coloured masking tape, because when you're working white on white, it's a bit tricky to decide where things are. Okay, I'm liking that. Right, let's just a bit of a clean up again. Now, I obviously want to remember that I'm using this as a background for bumblebees. So I'm going to make sure that there's yellow in here, because yellow to me really speaks of that whole look. I'm going to have to dry this at some point or else it'll start getting muddy, but I do want to look for the yellow I want to use. Now, I have a process yellow, which to me is quite an acid sort of lemon type yellow. So I just need to be careful with this one, because I've used it before and been quite shocked at how dominant it becomes. And then I'm probably going to use a cadmium deep yellow hue over the top of it afterwards. So I'm just going to put a little bit on my plate. And again, I'm going to brayer that out. I'm just going to focus on areas that have got nothing yet. And remember, if a paint isn't opaque, it's going to cover up whatever's underneath it, which I'm okay with at the moment for this. Yes, apparently you really enjoyed the reveal that we did last time I did it with tape. So I thought, let's do that one more time. I don't really fancy doing taping every single time, because that smacks a little bit of my perfectionism taking over again, and I don't want to do that. Right. Need a second to think about this now. Now, I know there's going to be black in here because this is about bees. It's about a bumblebee. The thing I kind of want to make sure is that I need something in here that's going to complement and contrast at the same time. And I think I want that to be purple. And I'm saying that because purple is the complementary to yellow. And let's see what I've got that would actually tick that box. I mean, I've obviously got my box of purples here. Oh, sun's coming out. Excuse this bit here. Nothing I can do about it. I happen to be having to go out this afternoon, so is that too dark? That might be too dark. How bright is this? Happen to be going out this afternoon, so I need to actually get this done today. I'm looking for something that's quite a bright purple. That's quite a nice purple. It's obviously a mixed bottle that I've made up. What's this one? Violet purple. Let's use this one. I did have one that I thought was a bit more reddish, and I can't seem to see it anywhere. Actually, thinking about that, would reddish work? I wonder. Why don't we do a touch of each? Let's live on the edge, people. Let's live on the edge. Right, I think this time I'm going to come in and I'm going to use the small bubble wrap. I'm not going to use the big bubble wrap. If I look at the scale of this, it's the wrong size. Like if I look at this, it was okay to use the medium in the background because it wasn't dominant. This is going to be quite dominant in these colours. This is going to be too overpowering, and it's going to wipe out the visual of my bees. So I think the big one is not going to be used today, but that's fine. You know about it. I know about it. It's a resource I can use. So I'm going to do a little bit of one colour. This is just a red, and this is just a purple. Oh, that's a heck of a lot of purple. Can I scoop some of that purple back up? I guess I can. There you go. Put some of that back in there. Make sure I don't put my fingers all over that. Yeah, because if I've got all that purple on there, I'm not going to be able to attain what I wanted to do. So what I want to do is I just want to brayer this Not so much that it's ombre, but just that I've got, if I'm using this as my stamp palette, I can actually come in and pick up two colours at the same time. Now, remembering where things are as far as taping goes, I think I'll turn that upside down to get a bit of the red in there. And I think I quite like a little bit of the red there. I think that's enough of that. Right, let's grab one of these book pages. Let's grab a spare one. The only reason I've got them loose is because I was tearing pages out and I got a bit carried away. So I pulled too many pages out, because once a page is complete, I take it out of the actual book and put it into the box. So I'm more likely to use it, because otherwise I just leave them in the book and I don't actually get them done. Let's just pull one of these up. Right, so what I'm thinking about this, is it time to hit this with a hairdryer? It might well be. So bear with me, guys. I'm just going to get my travel hairdryer on these and get this completely dried off. So that's as dry as it needs to be. I've just used a travel hairdryer. I don't use a heat tool. I just use a travel hairdryer half the time. It's just enough to be able to give me what I want. Now, I'm going to come in and I want to put white onto this now, as I said. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use white acrylic paint. And you may have seen me do this with tin foil before now. I'm just going to use a bit of this, just a bit of baking parchment. I'm just going to scrunch it up, open it out, scrunch it up, open it out. I want to just get interesting something. And don't ask me what I mean by interesting something. I just want interesting something. And also I don't need a lot of it. So I'm just going to brayer that out. I'm going to come in, rest that down, pick it up, put it on here. Oops, and drop it, obviously. And what it'll do, I don't know if you can see that, it just gives it interest. I'm just looking for something to break up the bigger areas of colour that are on here. You must remember that doesn't really have anything on it at the moment, so we may have to do a little bit of a look round to see if there are any areas that need a touch of something on them. I need a little bit more paint. It's not a bad thing that there isn't a huge amount of something on there, but when I'm looking to put something on there, I'd rather have something on there. So, you know me, I like to use found items if I can. Just add a little something. I'd like that broken up a little bit. That's better. Oh, actually, there's a bit there I want done as well. So that's just giving me another layer of something in there. I'm curious. I need to do something about this. So let me just grab a little bit of this yellow here. Just a little bit. And just basically just finger paint something in there. Is there anywhere else that's completely missing? I could probably do with some there. And then because I want to make sure that there's something on everything, let's just dive back into my trash can and see if I can get any of the paint off the white onto there. Not really. Let's just give this a little bit of... Wish I'd have noticed that earlier. I wouldn't have had to be doing this. So there you go. All fair in love and war. Not that art should ever be included in war, but there you go. Right. So as I said, I want to put honeycomb on here now. Now I was debating what colour, because I was thinking I wanted to do it black, but I'm not sure black is actually going to be the right thing to do, because the bees have got black in them. And I know I keep referring to the bees. I'll get there in a second, I promise you. So I'm wondering whether now is the time to look at maybe something that would almost represent a honey colour or a rich colour that would go with this. I'm thinking maybe a bronze or a copper, or let me have a quick look. Actually, this raw sienna is quite cute. And what I want to use is, this is a trivet I picked up in Michael's. It was in the reduced aisle in the cooking department, and I picked it up my last trip to the States, and it was a couple of bucks, and I went, you know what, and it's the only thing I've really got that's got this pattern on it, other than stencils and stuff, but I really want to use this. So I'm going to come in with my raw sienna. I'm still undecided whether to do writing or not, or mark making. I think it's going to have to wait to the end because I don't want to smear anything. So just going to come in, press this down, pick up, and this is where I want to be a bit cautious about where I'm laying this down. I don't really want it going over the areas. Okay, and I'm back. I have decided to use this. I have decided to use black, but I'm going to play around with an idea. There's lots going on here, like a huge amount going on here, although I hope when I take the tape off, it's going to not look as busy. As you know, I like verticals and horizontals, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to play with the shapes, and I'm going to put this on and I'm going to marry it to the edge of a hexagon. So there's going to be odd diagonals going across this, which is something you don't see me do very often, but I think it'll just give some sort of unifying pattern. This is just Mars Black, by the way. Some unifying pattern. I just need to be a little cautious that I don't do too much of it. So I'm just going to pick up paint on my coffee cup holder and see if I come in and lay it on the edge of the tape. Then I'm going to have it coming in at an angle, and if I do that, I mean, I could go the other way as well, couldn't I? That wouldn't be a bad idea. So see, so I've got a repetition thing happening. And I'd like to carry that on here. I have to remember that I've got bumblebees going on here, so they will need to feature some way. Right, as with anything, knowing when to stop is the biggest problem. I think we'll have to stop though. Right, I've got a whole sledge load of black there, which needs sorting out. So I think, let's just put that to one side because I can deal with that later. I'll just grab a piece of paper to put that on. Just because if it's on the gel plate, it'll just clean the gel plate after it's finished. I think we're at the stage now where I need to remove the tape because I'm really struggling to see what needs to be where and when and all of the above. So I think we're going to have to take the tape off now, which is fine. We all like the reveal. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to do one side only of taking the tape off with you watching. And what I'm going to do is, because I have to use my hairdryer because I found that if I heat the tape up, it doesn't tear the paper. So what I'll do is I will turn the volume right down to almost zero. You'll hear the hairdryer probably in the background, but I don't want you suffering because I know that it really annoys some people, and I'm one of them. I don't mind hearing a little bit of noise, but this is probably going to take me a few minutes to take this off. So bear with me. I'm going to drop the volume, and once I've finished this, I will up the volume again. So let's see if I can get this out without tearing anything. And we're back to full volume. Okay, I'm liking that. Now it's come to its forefront. I'm quite happy with that. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to come in with the eraser or the pencil. I'm going to rub out any pencil marks that I can see sticking out at the edges of things. Like I can see a mark here. I know that I'm not going to erase it all totally, but I also know I'm going to put a border around each of these because you know I like to do my thin borders. It's easier to take it off now than it is putting the black on and then doing it afterwards. So bear with me 2 seconds, and I love how that turned out. That's a lot. See what I mean? Once I've taken it off, it's less busy. Okay, that didn't take long at all. Obviously, I can't get any pencil lines up that have got a coating of acrylic paint over the top of them. That's fine. We knew that, well, I knew that was going to happen, and I think I may have mentioned it. Okay, I'm now thinking this looks a lot better. It's not as busy as it obviously was with all the tape on. Now, just to answer a question, because I've had it before, Ceri, do you save the painty tape you take off to be used in other art pieces? Okay, let's address that. I could get a piece of plastic or maybe a page protector and straighten all those little pieces out and stick them down and put them to one side to be used in further art projects. I'm not doing that. Believe me, there is enough in this studio as it is without me saving more stuff. And several of you have said, how do I manage my space? How do I keep scraps and things down? As I create the scrap, I make the decision, does it go in the trash? Does it go in the bin? Does it go into a drawer to be used later? It's just, I get overwhelmed by too many things around me and too many choices. So if I take one of those away from me, it's not a problem. Okay, so on to the bees. You've heard me talk about the bees. So these are the bees. Now, I used a rubber stamp, which is this one here. Can you see that? Let's put it on something, which is, that didn't help in the slightest, did it? Let's do that instead. Okay, that doesn't help either, Griffiths. Okay, this stamp set I bought from Hobbycraft here in the UK. The way it was packaged, it actually looked like these may have come from an Edith Holden inspired set. I think these were Country Diary or Edwardian Country Diary. That was the title. It was in the clearance aisle. It was the only one I saw there, and I plucked it out of the clearance aisle. I've looked on Hobbycraft. They no longer sell this. Know that it's out there in the world, but I'm using this bee stamp. You can use whichever bee stamp you've got. You may even have a digital of a bee that you could use. So my process was, I took the bee stamp, I used archival black ink, and I stamped onto tissue. This is just regular craft tissue. It's not wet strength. It's your regular gift wrap tissue paper. And now I'm going to take these 3 bees, not this one. I decided I wanted to do an odd number first, for no other reason than I normally do an odd number. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a wet brush. Can I find a wet brush? Let's get some water and get myself a small brush. just a small one. I don't need a million tons of water everywhere. I'm just going to come in and I'm going to roughly go around each of the bees. I don't want too much water. I just want enough on here so I can tear this. I'm not very good at tearing when I've wet them, I must admit. I'm a lot better just tearing them by hand. Hopefully I've got enough on there. I'll just do one of these for you and then I'll come back to you after I've done the other two. Just try, and the reason I tear it, not fussy cut it, is this feathered edge disappears into the background when you attach it on something far more readily than if you fussy cut it and then you've got to deal with a cut edge. So just in case anyone is wondering why I'm doing it this way. And if I'd have thought this through, I would have had the other two cut out prior to, or torn out prior to turning the video on, wouldn't I? I wasn't thinking straight. Let's leave it at that. So as you can see, I've now got my bumblebee out. The way I did it is I stamped it, let it fully dry, turned it over. Sorry, this is the back. I stamped it, let it fully dry, turned it over, and I came in with a yellow transparent acrylic paint and quickly put some acrylic paint on the back, let that fully dry so that it filled in the gaps at the front. Now, I wanted this to be quite a pastel look. I'm sure when I wet this, it's going to become a little more intense. If I don't think it's intense enough, I can easily come in with a little paintbrush and fill those in easier. But by putting the paint on the back of the stamp tissue, it meant that I didn't have to try and paint into all these little areas. Right, bear with, I need to get these last two bees off here. This will go into my box for future things to do. And I'm back. Right, my bees are actually all fussy torn nicely. I've got three, I've got 2 pages to put them on. I'm not really sure where they're going to go. So it's just a case of auditioning them. I quite like the fact that one is the right way up or vertical. It fit right in the middle of there. Actually, that would fit in there. The trouble is, because of the size of them, actually I did say one was going to be, one page would have to have one on it, wouldn't it? Maybe that will do. I think that will do. Yes, right. I'm going to use matte gel medium. I use Liquitex Basics for this. I'm just going to squeeze a little bit out to one side on a clean-up mat. I also have some plastic wrap with me, and I have a bit of soft tissue here as well, because I like to smooth them down after I put them on to get the air bubbles out. Now, this is the reason why I didn't do Posca at this point, because if I'd have been brushing this on with Posca, the Posca would have potentially reliquefied, if that's a real word, and come up. Let's just pop that on there in the center, as central as I can get it, without getting myself tied up in knots thinking about it. Right, and I just put this over the top, and it just helps me, if I gently rub this down, it just helps me almost burnish it into the background. I'm working from the center to the outside, and don't forget I've got the acrylic orange painted piece face down, and then I can always come in with a quick layer of matte medium over the top of that to seal it if I choose. So I'm just going to let that dry off for a bit. I'm going to come in here with the next one. It doesn't take much. I mean, if this had been wet strength tissue, I could even have put these down with a glue stick, but because it's gift wrap tissue, I need to be a little more careful with that. And I shouldn't have brushed over the top of that either. Just put this on. Now I'm using a different part of this because if you can see there is matte gel medium that came through the tissue. If I put that on top of this one, it would just lift it off. Now, if there are any pieces that I've missed, because I'm not perfect when it comes to this, I can always come in and just touch it up afterwards with a little bit more glue. Like I'm looking here and wondering why that's got a bit of a fold in it. I'll just stick that down with that. Right, that's the next one down. And I did quite like this down here, but I'm wondering whether I like the journey your eye has to go on. I think I'm going to put it there because that's where my instinct was to put it the first time. Now, if you're planning to do anything over the top of these over the top of the area you've just put stuff in, don't forget that you've got matte gel medium on the go here, and the nature of the gel medium is to make a barrier as well as being used as a glue. So you could run into problems if you're trying to write over the top of it. So just be a little bit, just being aware is, what's that saying? Forewarned is forearmed. Okay, that can go in the bin. Now, as I said, I can just, now that this is, it's dry enough, if I just quickly go over the top, it will seal it in and catch any edges that I might have missed, which I don't think I have. But it's always worth checking. Also, the moisture in the matte medium will actually dissolve the surface of the tissue a little bit, and I'm hoping it might intensify the colour coming through the body. But I do quite like this orange anyway because it's not really in anywhere else on this design. Right, I think let's just clean this off my brush, put my brush in some water. So where are we up to? Right, now I need to do the outlines, and I need to dry this off to do the outlines. Now I was going to do the outlines in black. Do I still want to do them in black? Something is telling me I should try and do them in red, but not feeling red. I think that would just be a bit too much. I think yes to black. Right. Going to hairdryer this, I think, before I do that, because these need to be dry. But what I'm going to use is I'm going to come in. So I'm going to come in with a Posca pen, a PC1MR, and it gives me a line about this thick. And I'm going to use Posca and not a permanent marker because why not? And all I'm going to do is, let's just choose one I can go around so you can see what I'm doing. So literally I'm going to come in and I'm going to draw my lines around it. And as you know, I like to do two lines because I can never draw a straight line. So I just embrace the fact that I can't draw a straight line. And I draw a rough line, a bit like that. So there you go, it's all dry, all the lines are done, and I've remembered to sign it. However, I'm still not happy. All the way along in my brain, my gut has been telling me it needs red. It's hard to ignore your gut when that's how I actually create. So I'm going to use red. I'm going to use this quinacridone scarlet. Sparingly, I hope, and I'm going to use a foam stamp. This is by Froyle Davies in New Zealand, manufactured by PM Artist Studio, and I want to put these on, but maybe just a little bit here and there. Now, you've seen me do this before with post-it notes or sticky notes, and I'm going to do the same again. This time I'm going to go over my drawn lines because I obviously don't want red over the top of black. So, and once these are used, I can reuse these sticky notes. I mean, sticky notes are basically what I would class as a throwaway product. Right, I think that will give me a start. And then what I'll have to do is peel them off and actually put them somewhere else. That's an interesting floral appearance, isn't it? Right, so let's just put this. This is saying transparent. I did more transparent. I think it's going to be this. Yeah, because that's a semi-transparent. What colour is this? I like to actually see the colour. Which I think I'm going to use this one instead. And hope it's the right one. Right, back to my little gel plate again. Just spray it out. Pick up sections of this. Now, it's a horizontal vertical design, and that's how I'm going to use it. And I'm looking for subtlety, remember. I don't mind that looking like that is what I'm trying to get at. Actually thinking about it, is it going to cause me a problem because all of the others, see if I can just, no, don't do it, Griffiths, because you'll mess it up. Right, let's take some of these off. See, some of these haven't even got paint on them, and things like that doesn't bother me in the slightest. I will definitely recycle sticky notes because I use them all of the time. I even have a pack of these next to my bed at night. Is that sad? Potentially, but if I have something on my mind or I wake up with an idea, if I don't write it down, I know it's not going to be there by morning. So I used to, for years, have a little notebook by my desk. And then what I would find is I just wouldn't read back through the notebook. Whereas if I have post-it notes or sticky notes, some of you call them, then I do tend to use the sticky notes because they're there and they're fluttering around. Do you know what I mean? Right. Let's see. Wonder whether I'll do a little bit on this down here, because this has been neglected as far as I'm concerned. I haven't done it justice, this little triangle. So it's just, there's already paint on here, so there you go, that's a little bit for there. I do wish that didn't look like that. I don't know whether I dare try and do it again. Okay, it's only art. I don't know why. I wasn't planning on them all being perfect, obviously, but I was planning on a little bit more than that in that square, in that hexagon. And the problem was, of course, the spiral bound here, and I didn't take that into account. So if I can lift this up, I may have to twist it closer to me, guys. If I twist this down, lift this up, see if I can line these up. Pray for me, I'm going in. Okay, not perfect, but it's fine. I would rather that than what it was. Right, I did want one more place on here. And this is crying out to me down there. That's crying out to me as well, but I think I quite like the space thing. Let's do a piece down here. I do love masking with post-it notes. I don't know why, it's just I've always used them. I found them really useful for stuff. And remembering the lesson from the one above. There you go. See, that's what it needed. It needed red. Right, this needs to be sorted. pop that on there. Get a piece of this and run this over here. This is looking quite pretty in itself. Actually, this page may be done. Right, let's have a quick think. Now, I was thinking about putting writing into this, like my text, my funky writing, and I think I'd quite like to do that. Oh, I need to put that on the cloth so it doesn't dry up onto a damp cloth. The others are now soaking in the sink in the other room. And let's get that black pen again. I think I am. Right, let's take a piece of kitchen towel, because I don't want to put my hand into anything that's wet. I'm just going to come in. You've seen me do my fake writing before. Right. Quite like it on here as well. There is no rhyme or reason to this fake writing. It's not even words. I'm literally squiggling with my pen. There were a couple of areas over here I wanted to do up there. Quite like to do a bit down there. For anyone who's seen my real handwriting, they'd probably say, well, what's the difference? Oh, that's a bit annoying. I've done that and the same, but it's fine, because I really want to do that one as well. But let's do this one. Yes, let's just do a little bit of it here. There you go. And I know we're finished. I think that's fine. I wanted to do a bee one. I've had it in my mind to do a bee one for ages. I was contemplating whether I go around here and doing fake stitches as well, but then I thought it's not meant to be a quilt. It just, for some reason, this shouts to be of a quilt. So, no, I'm happy with that. Very happy with that. Well, thank you for being along on the journey once again with me, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I did it. I did. Not sure I'm going to do one every month, because there are other things I want to do as well. And there's so many videos I can get done in my time span in 1 month. But I'm liking that. That turned out well. Very happy with that. Okay, so all it leaves me to say is I'm Ceri the Crafter. And that's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time. Goodbye now.